Hello everybody, Nicholas here from Valiant Nerds, and welcome to my review of Valiant Hearts The Great War. Valiant Hearts is set during World War One, an area of history somewhat neglected by games of the past, which is a shame as there's a lot to offer us. So it's nice to see developers tackle a game not only in this era, but also different from most other games set during wars. At its core, Valiant Hearts is a story-driven game following the interwoven tale of four main characters. The main story centers around the love of a German soldier named Karl and his wife, Marie, who is forced to leave behind in France at the outbreak of war, and Harry attempts to return to her. There's also Emile, the father of Marie, who is caught up the fight and decides to try and find Karl. We also have Freddy, an American soldier who joined the French army on a revenge quest to track down Baron von Dorf. Baron von Dorf also takes the form of the main antagonist of the game. Finally, there's Joanna, a young French woman who is training to be a vet and decides to join the army as a nurse. You also meet a German dog who helps you throughout the game. Gameplay-wise, Valiant Hearts is a puzzle game, but with some action elements. Each character has different styles of play. Emile's sections play the most like traditional puzzle game, focusing on getting around problems and avoiding combat if possible. Freddy is generally more action-orientated and tends to get to play the big guns. Emile and Freddy team up on a few levels and use their skills together to overcome problems. Anna does very little combat, and instead focuses on helping and healing others. Unfortunately, the healing game is all about timing, which makes it frustrating to play. Finally, Karl's levels tend to be about stealth and subterfuge. Throughout this, the unnamed dog helps you by retrieving items and moving levers in places you can't get to. The gameplay frequently switches between different styles to keep things fresh, and from getting bored. Along with regular puzzle games, you have all aforementioned healing minigame, and what I could best describe as a car racing section. Some of the boss battles are also great fun as well. The game also teaches you about the history of war by finding historical facts, and also the collectibles you pick up generally have either little stories or bits of history attached to them. I actually did learn a lot about the war, more than I realised I ever knew. To advance the story, you also unlock diary entries for each of the main characters to move the plot forward. I love the style of the game. I like the animation. Even though it's cartoony, it still managed to convey the horrors of war to the player. Interesting as well as the in-game dialogue, which sounds like gibberish at first, but if you listen for it, a lot of it is actually spoken properly as well. The game does have a few problems, mainly with the control and interface design. Default mappings are for the arrow keys for movement instead of WASD, a bizarre setup and one that caused problem later on. The healing minigame I mentioned earlier shows you having to press a button up, down, left and right, which I'd assume would be remapped to WASD, but no, they were still mapped to the arrow keys, and this did cause some problems, but I'm feeling unnatural to play with. The interface also has some problems. You can look at collectibles and historical facts by pressing the same button, but to access diary entries you have to open the in-game menu. This makes doing it feel clunky, instead of it being attached to a nice one-button system. Overall, I recommend Valiant Hearts' purchase. It's not very expensive, and I found it to be a refreshing take on the war genre. Although it has problems, this is merely dirt specs on an otherwise fine game. Thanks for watching, guys.